how do wealthy business owners think? So they're constantly looking for inspiration for the problems they're trying to solve in unconventional manners. Goals that whenever the normal look at them like, you have lost your ever-loving mind, man. The success of the wealthy often begins here, friends, here in their mind. I've said the rich don't work for money, the rich don't work for money, the rich don't work for money. And instead now I understand it. Friends, if you can catch this, we learn a secret of the rich. We learn a secret of the successful business owner, and that is this. Wealthy business owners are weird. That's right, they are strange. Whenever you look at them, you're going to look at them like a calf looking at a new gate. They are weird. I often say, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. But how specifically do wealthy, I'm talking about stinking rich, how do wealthy business owners think? Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple of things here. They think big, huge. They think big. They obsess over their burning desires. They speak to themselves, but it's an interesting way, and we're going to talk about it. They don't perceive risk. Interesting. And they continuously learn and never stop thinking, but how? So friends, I submit to you, if we can learn the way that the wealthy think, we can achieve far greater than we might anticipate. I recently heard Ed Mylett say, the reason why you are broke is you don't think big enough. You don't think big enough. Man, when I heard that, I sat back and I went, wow, I think pretty big. I scare people whenever I talk. And so I dove into, what does thinking big mean? It's a mindset. It's a mindset that the wealthy possess. It's a mindset that is characterized by ambitious, expansive, and visionary thinking. They set high goals. I mean, goals that whenever the normal look at them like, you have lost your ever-loving mind, man. They think big. They are not satisfied with limiting themselves to the conventional or the mediocre. How do they do this? Well, they set ambitious goals. They set goals that others think are crazy. I recently made the statement, I can see myself today in front of an audience of tens of thousands of people talking about their vision, their dreams. I can see myself there right now. That is an ambitious goal that I have. I can see myself making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month in income. I can see that happening. See, wealthy, we set our minds in a different manner. I've never in my life set some of these things out loud that I'm trying to speak into now, because I've been challenged with saying, Justin, how in the world did you accomplish what you accomplished? How do you think, man? What did you do? The success of the wealthy often begins here, friends, here in their mind. So they set ambitious goals and they think in a visionary mindset. They can already see themselves succeeding in that particular goal. They can already see themselves on stage, if you will, in front of tens of thousands of people communicating about whatever the mission they have. They can already see themselves there. So they set this ambitious goal, then they've already seen themselves achieving the goal, and then as they're on the path to the goal, they're constantly challenging the status quo. They find unconventional solutions and expose unconventional opportunities. Someone asked me recently, Justin, how in the world did you sell your first business? As I look back in my mind's eye, I knew what was happening at that particular time of my life. I started the business with my brother at the age of 15. We both went to school through the earnings of our company. He went one way, and then I was with his business, and then my wife and I got married in South Georgia. And I dealt with racism, honestly, for the first time ever. I saw my wife and her family who are Filipino, and I saw them deal with racism, and it broke my heart. My mom and dad did not train me to see people in a particular skin tone or particular race or anything of that nature. I was always taught people are people. God created us all. And whenever I saw my wife and her family and what this particular person did to them, not only did it infuriate me, I wanted to just choke the person did this, but it broke my heart about how mean, how evil humans can be to each other. And as I began looking at trying to sell the company because of this event, I got to the point where it didn't matter the money. It was like, hey, I'm done. I'm going to figure out a way to reach my goals in life without this particular business, because I have to disrupt my family greatly in order for me to accomplish my goals. So we challenged the status quo. It would have been far easier probably for me to take the company that I already been running for 6-7 years. I had a solid foundation and scale that, but instead I sold it for very little, for pennies on the dollar, so I could walk away. It was a challenge to the status quo. In hindsight now, I'm like, man, I could have sold my company for X instead of Y, but I was ready to walk away and go a different direction for the sake of my family. Now, wealthy people not only challenge the status quo, but we're fearless. People are fearless whenever they reach a certain wealth. They're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of falling flat on their face. In fact, get this, many times they welcome it. Many times they welcome the challenge, the wind coming across them. We call it gale force wind or headwinds on the coast. They welcome the wind against them because it's going to make them stronger as they push against it. Every year I go to the mountains in the Rocky Mountains to elk hunt. And where I live here in East Tennessee, it's about 1,000 foot above sea level. Well, the Rockies, as you may know, can be 10, 11, 12, 13,000, 14,000 above sea level. And the higher you go, the thinner the area is. So in order for me to prepare for that, I began challenging myself. I challenged the status quo in a fearless manner. I put a oxygen reducer, a restrictor on my face, and it prevents a certain amount of oxygen from going in my blood, which causes my heart rate to spike. So even at 1,000 feet, I can get close to where I'm breathing about the same amount of oxygen that I would at 10, 11, 12,000 feet. I'm not afraid. I'm not fearful of the challenge because I'm going to figure out a way to prepare myself for the challenge. You see, wealthy people are fearless and they're creative. They're creative. They're constantly trying to figure out a way through unconventional sources. You know, if they're going to accomplish something that's never been done before, if they're going to rock the world, they're going to think big, I'm talking about insanely huge, then they're going to have to come up with a way that's never been thought of before to accomplish a goal or to solve a problem or to place them further on the path than anybody else for them to reach their goal. So they're constantly looking for inspiration for the problems they're trying to solve in unconventional manners. And then they have a long-term perspective. It's not a get-rich scheme. Wealth gained hastily will be dwindled, the scripture says. Wealth gained hastily. If you get rich quick, or if you think you're going to get rich quick, it's going to be dwindled hastily. And whoever gathers it little by little, the scripture says, it will increase. And we've all heard this. We've heard about the lottery winners who go out and scratch a ticket and then get millions or millions and millions of dollars, and within a few years, they're bankrupt. Why? Because they inherited or they received a huge sum of money really quick, and they weren't prepared for it. So people who are wealthy, business owners who are wealthy, they think big. They're thinking big along this path. And I think Ed Mylett was right. The reasons why Justin Goodbread, and I dare say you, the reason why many times we are not reached our full potential is because we're thinking small. We're thinking small. May I challenge you? What's inside your mind that if you could do it, if you had unlimited time and unlimited resources that you would do tomorrow? Can you paint that picture? Friends, I'm telling you, if we take this secret away from the wealthy, we can accomplish more than we might imagine. Let's think big. Not only do they think big, but they obsess internally on their burning desire. Their vision, their desire, their mission, their ethos, whatever it is, whatever word you want to plug there, they are constantly thinking. I mean, it is obsessive to them. Have you ever met that person who's constantly talking about where they're going, what they're doing? Many times they're not doing it in a bragful manner. And friends, I've been accused of that many times. Well, Justin, you're always talking about success. You're always talking about this. It's because that's where I'm headed, friends. This is in my mind nonstop. See, a burning desire is a powerful and intense craving or longing for a specific goal, a specific achievement, a specific outcome. Let's go back to my stage presence. I can see myself today in front of tens of thousands of people communicating a message of hope. I can see that. I can see myself talking to tens of thousands of business owners saying, hey, this country boy who grew up in the swamps of South Georgia, who lives on a dirt road in East Tennessee, if I can accomplish what God's allowed me to accomplish, you can too. I can see that. But this obsession goes beyond a simple wish. It's beyond a simple aspiration. Instead, it's a relentless pursuit and determination that drives the individual to pursue the object with unwavering commitment. With unwavering commitment. First time I met my wife, I knew she was the one. I knew she was the one. My mom said, "You're going to chase her until she catches you." And I went, "What?" She goes, "You're going to chase her until she catches you." And what I was doing was I was pursuing my wife because I knew I had to have her in my life the rest of my life. Think about that in your own relationships. Have you ever been relentlessly pursuing something? You see, it brings about an intensity, an unquenchable thirst for a particular object. I have an unquenchable thirst at this point in my life for no longer an 8-figure exit. Been there, done that. No longer to be debt-free. Been there, done that. I have an unquenchable thirst to impact as many people as I can, to get all that God has for me. What's your obsession? For you, what is the intense thing that you just have to have? See, as part of this obsession, we are persistent. We endure setbacks. If I know I'm going to be there, I can handle some downtime. I can handle some obstacles. I can handle some negative press. I can handle that because I know where I'm going to be. I have this obsession that I'm going to get there come hell or high water and no one's going to stop me. And so that when the storms come or the naysayers, and there are a lot of them, trust me, whenever they come, it's like, okay, cool. When the critics start, okay, cool. You're not going to derail me from reaching our goals. Because third thing, I have a crystal clear vision. I know exactly how to get where I need to be. And I know if I carry on the activities that I'm doing today, I will reach that goal. I know that. Justin, that's foreign to me. See, with this obsession, underneath it is a passion. It's a deep love for what I'm doing. I've been asked a lot here recently, "Justin, why don't you quit? Why are you doing this?" Sincerely, because I love what I do. I'll never forget the book I read. I often speak about it because one of the very first books I read cover to cover, I was challenged by my mom and another teacher of mine to, hey, read a book a week. And I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the first time. And the sentence, "the rich don't work for money," hit me just like a hammer between the eyes. It's like, well, what do they work for? They don't work for money. And I couldn't understand it. And I've said it many times to myself to internalize it over the last 20 years, 30 years. I've said the rich don't work for money. The rich don't work for money. The rich don't work for money. And instead now I understand it. I can actually say the rich don't work for money. They work to fulfill their passion. They had this obsession in their head that they've got to do, and they're determined beyond a shadow of a doubt, come hell or high water, they're going to reach that particular goal. And they place themselves in also a positive mindset. So this obsession that they have is positive thinking. It's a self-confidence. It breeds confidence and determination. And as they speak with authority and confidence and determination, others around them say, hey, that's Justin. He's going to be on stage one day. You watch where he goes. Watch him. Just watch what he's doing. Look at this. This is crazy. Because we're surrounded by people who aren't confident. We're surrounded by people who second guess everything they do. And so when those of us who understand clearly this obsession of where we're headed, when we hit the stage or when we hit the world, when we leave our offices or just hobnob with those around us, we really look like a unicorn, friends. And so we sit back and we say, well, how do the rich think? Man, they are weird. The rich is weird. They think and they're obsessed. They're obsessed on reaching the thing that God has instilled in their heart. Okay, so they're obsessed, but they also talk to themselves. But it's a positive self-talk. Solomon, the wisest man ever lived, he said, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Now, what's interesting is there's two words there as a word study that is intriguing to me. And I've taught this many times, never on the open air, but I've taught this many times when I speak or in conferences, things of that nature. King Solomon was the son of David. David was the person who killed the giant, right? Goliath. David was a warrior. David was a shepherd. He was a shepherd king, as the scriptures say. Solomon was not. Solomon was not a warrior, nor was he a shepherd. But Solomon uses this word keep, a keep. A keep is where you put sheep. And he says, keep thy heart, thy mind. Put your mind into a protective area where you keep sheep. Before King David killed Goliath, he stated that he killed a lion and a bear. Lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, right? He killed a lion and a bear. What was he doing? See, when the shepherds would march their sheep across the desert, the wilderness, they would get these thorny bushes and they would build this particular hedge or thorn row around these sheep to put their sheep in. So at night, when the lions or the bears came, the lions and the bears could not get easily to the sheep. They would make a keep, if you will. That's the term. So Solomon says, keep thy heart. Thy heart there is thy mind. Keep thy mind with all diligence. Now that diligence word there is a warrior's term. It means a watchtower. So I want you to picture this. Solomon is literally saying, take your mind, build a hedge of thorns, build a protection around it, and then put a watchtower up and stand in it and make sure no one comes and attacks it. Why? Why should we protect our minds? Because out of it are the issues of life. Because out of our minds comes everything that we're going to do in life. Friends, if you can catch this, we learn a secret of the rich. We learn a secret of the successful business owner, and that is this. So many of us don't build a keep. We don't protect our mind. We allow others and ourselves to sow seeds of negativity, of doubt, of surrender, of fear, of anxiety. These seeds in our mind, and these seeds take hold. And before you know it, it's like you've seen where you put like chia seeds or chai seeds or various grass seeds in a cup. Maybe you did this for your kids, and the roots are so root bound. Before you know it, these seeds of negativity become internalized to us, and we forsake that big goal that we once had. We forsake the dream that maybe God instilled in our lives. See, wealthy people get it. They understand that people around us are going to say things. I remember whenever my book, Your Baby's Ugly, reached number 1 on the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. Within a week, I had 4 different websites pop up, and people wrote slanderous things, untrue things about me. And they began getting pressed, and some of my friends said, man, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I'm like, don't worry. As Dave Ramsey says, I can bail the hate mail, man. I'm not going to let someone around me, a critic, gain control of my mind. I'm going to protect it. And so how do I do that? I speak positive thoughts. I mentioned last time I had this affirmation, this mantra that I speak to myself, where I put together 30 or 40 verses together that I quote to myself many times a day. Because I've learned a secret of the wealthy. And that is, I've got to protect my mind. I've got to make sure that the seeds that are planted in my mind are only there of positivity and drive me to the direction I need to be. It's another secret of the wealthy. Interestingly enough, the wealthy don't perceive risk. It's like, just seriously? Yeah, they don't perceive risk in the way that normal folk do. I can tell you this, friends, the longer I live and the more I hang out with people who are extremely successful, the more I realize that these cats are weird. They don't perceive risk. There's a term called the cost of inaction. Now, in the financial world, we call it opportunity cost. But there is a cost for not doing something. There's a cost for not doing something. I'm going to give you a crude example, but I think it'll hit home with me. This is the way my mind thinks, and I think it'll relate to us. Let's just say Emily and I and Jude, my youngest son, are in New York City. Now, promise you, I'm probably not going to be in New York City. This country boy doesn't belong there. I still can see in my own head, Pace Picante sauce. It's not bottled in New York City, right? The old commercial from the 80s and 90s. Still can see that every time I hear New York City. There's just a lot of folk there. And you guys who live up there in that world, best of luck to you. But let's just say hypothetically that Emily and I and Jude are walking down the sidewalk in New York City, and Jude takes off running straight to one of the busiest streets. Let's say it's Fifth Avenue, and this time of the day, I see a speeding car coming down Fifth Avenue, and Jude's about to run right out into the road and get just ran over like a squirrel would in the country by this car. I can just see this happening. In that moment, more than likely, I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs, "Stop!" More than likely. That's what I'm going to do. Interestingly enough, as I say, "Stop!" I'm not going to care who's around me. I'm not going to care who I offend, who I disrupt. There could be somebody closing a multi-million-dollar business deal. I don't care. Why? Because I see a concern. I have my mind set on a risk. I'm not saying that wealthy people don't see risk. I'm not saying that. They measure risk through a very analytical mind. We're measuring risk on a constant basis. But wealthy people have an innate ability to do this. The risk of inaction, the risk of me not pursuing my dream is far greater than the risk of failure. I want you to think about this. If I shoot toward my dream and I fail, Justin Goodbread is okay with that. You say, Justin, you're really going to be on stage one day? Yes, I am. I can see myself on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, and whenever that time comes, I'm going to reference this point in my life. You say, well, Justin, what happens if it doesn't? Friends, I would rather fail pursuing my dream than to not try it at all. See, I've got to be true to me. The only person that I have to impress is Justin Goodbread. The only person I have to impress is Justin Goodbread. I don't have to impress my mom. She loves me. I don't have to impress my brother and my sister. They love me. I don't have to impress my wife. Most of the time she loves me. No, she loves me. They're going to love me whether I win or lose. Candidly, friends, I don't have to impress you. I'm not doing what I'm doing for you. I'm doing it so that I can help you. Doing what I'm doing so I can pour into people's lives. And because as I pour in people's lives, as Zig Ziglar said, if we help others get what they want out of life, then we will get everything we want out of life. Business owners can see their visions, they can see their dream, and the lack of achieving that or lack of trying is more painful of a risk to them than never trying at all. Because at the end of the day, friends, whenever the microphones are off and the lights are off and the world's quiet and I'm sitting at home in my bed and I'm listening to the East Tennessee katydids or cicadas, whatever you call them, here in East Tennessee, and the crickets chirping, the owls hooting, it's my mind I got to deal with. And I don't want to go a day, a week, a year, or a lifetime questioning, what if? What if? Not me. Not me. And that's the magic. That's a secret. That is a conscious decision that wealthy business owners continuously do that many people don't ever consider. They ask the most expensive question, according to Myron Golden, what if it doesn't work? To me, it's, what if I don't try? I've got to do this. Not only do the rich not perceive risk, but they are continuous learners and thinkers. They're continuous learners and thinkers. Friends, there's about 1,440 minutes each day. And every day there's 1,440 minutes in a day. And out of those 1,440 minutes, the rich and the poor, both alike, use roughly about 1,200 minutes of those for eating, dressing, work, commuting, family-related events, just life. The delta, the difference between the wealthy and the poor, the difference is 240 minutes. 240 minutes. What is it that the rich do with those 240 minutes that the poor don't? There was a study done called Rich Habits Study. It was done from March 2004 to March 2007. It was covered many individuals. 233 wealthy individuals and 128 poor individuals over a 3-year period of time. Here was something interesting. 80% of the rich engaged 60 minutes of that 240. They engaged 60 minutes daydreaming. Quiet, dreaming, daydreaming about where they're going to be. They're setting themselves. The author called it dream setting. They're placing themselves already in their dream, and they're anticipating what are the roadblocks and how am I going to get there. They literally spend an hour of the day thinking about where they're going, the long-term pathway they're on. Do you do that? My wife, we take trips, and she'll say, hey, welcome back. Good to see you. I'm like, well, what's up? She goes, you've been zoned out for the last 20 minutes. I said, no, I wasn't. I was thinking about this. She goes, you should see yourself. You're just like in this trance. 80% of wealthy people engage out of that 240 minutes of extra time. They don't spend it watching Netflix. They don't spend it on their phones looking at TikTok or YouTube. They do it setting themselves in their dreams. Get this. Nearly 80% of the wealthy spend 60 minutes of their day deliberately in practice or in education. In practice or in education. They're constantly self-improving. They're constantly moving forward. So out of the 240 minutes a day, the wealthy use it to dream, and they use the majority of the time to inspire and educate themselves. There was another study, it was a 5-year study done about the daily habits of self-made millionaires by Tom Crowley. And he actually wrote a book called Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. And here's what he found, and I quote, 88% of rich people devote 30 minutes or more each day to self-education and improvement reading. Most did not read for entertainment. What are they looking at? They're reading, they're educating themselves to help them accomplish their vision. They're reading and educating themselves to give them the skill sets to think differently than the masses. They're reading and educating themselves in a way to where they can think bigger than they might have ever thought before. One of the most powerful statements I can remember from my youth, I can remember my mom saying this in my life, speaking truth into my life throughout all my childhood, and she said this 1,000 times. Where you'll be 5 years from now is determined by the books you read and the people you hang out with today, son. That was her words. She actually got that from Charlie Tremendous Jones, who said, you'll be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. So when we look at the way the rich think, they think differently. They think weird. The rest of the world looks at them and like, they don't belong with us. They think big. They think on their burning desire nonstop. So much so they're already visioning themselves 80 minutes a day, just envisioning, so how am I going to get there? And they think and they write and they're constantly planning in their head. They speak to themselves positively and they try their best to keep seeds from the naysayers, seeds from their critic, from planting and gaining root in their mind, because they realize as you think, so you are. They don't perceive risk in the same manner that others perceive risk. They look at risk saying, if I don't accomplish it, it's a greater risk than me trying it and failing. And they're continuously learning on purpose. So friends, I got to ask you, are you weird? If you are, man, welcome to the club. I've been weird my whole life. Oh, I often laugh. I'm like, yeah, I was homeschooled in the swamps of South Georgia. I'm the kid that runs up to the door and I push the door when it says pool because I'm weird. Most of you know I can't spell worth a flip. I can't even spell flip. I don't care. I know where I'm going. I know what God's called me to do. If you feel yourself being weird, man, join the club. Consider it an honor. Consider it a badge of honor and pour into your life. Bring those people alongside you who can speak truth and affirmation into your life. Think about things different. Be a contrarian to society. You said, Justin, I'm not weird. Look, ma'am, if you want to achieve monumental things for your life, you've got to do what the vast majority is not willing to do. May I submit to you today that if you think bigger than you've ever thought before and put some of these practices we just spoke about into play, and you think about this burning desire, you know what it is. You know where it's at. You know, man, if I had unlimited time, unlimited resources, I would go do this. And if you talk to yourself in a positive manner and keep the seeds from the naysayer and the critics out of your mind, and you look at risk in a different light, not in the light of I might lose, but in the light of what happens if I don't? Can I sleep at night with myself? No, it's a greater risk. I'm going to go, and if I fall, so be it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And then what are you reading? What are you reading? What are you reading not for fun, but for your knowledge's sake? What books are you reading right now? Hey, look, do me a favor. If they found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. There's so many business owners. There's so many people who want to understand what separates unsuccessful from successful. And friends, I'm trying to unpack this for you from 30 years worth of experience, knowledge, thousands of books I've read, a lifetime that I've lived in a small 30-year period. I want you to see what makes me tick behind the scenes. Friends, I'm telling you, if a country boy from South Georgia, born and raised on a dirt road and currently lives on a dirt road in East Tennessee, if I can accomplish some things that God's allowed me to accomplish, you can do anything. you can do anything. Hey, y'all go out and make it a great day.